Hi, I'm Chris, and welcome to The Compulsive Hobbyist. This is a YouTube channel about not just hobbies, of which I have many, but about the learning process, or more specifically, my learning process, and how I go about learning to get better at a variety of different hobbies at which I might not have a very deep level of expertise, and that's putting it mildly. Really, this is about learning while having fun and making mistakes. And you're going to see each of those in the next segment. I went into this not really expecting this to be my debut video for this channel. I have a couple other things I'm working on for that, but this kind of fell in my lap. There was something that I discovered about a piece of equipment, this wah pedal right here, that was bothering me and needed to be fixed. The fix turned out to be very, very straightforward, as you'll see, but the process of getting to that fix was a little windy. You'll see that as well. You know, all this stuff is a learning process, and I tend to pick complex hobbies that have a lot of intricacies. So anytime I start up a new one, it's diving in on the deep end and figuring out lots of stuff. So hopefully you feel the same way and we'll get something out of these videos. If so, I hope to see you as I move forward. Anyways, I'm going to cut to the workshop and we'll continue in progress. Here we are. I was practicing the guitar last night after a lesson with my instructor yesterday, where I was using my Crybaby wah pedal. This pedal has been sitting on my on or near my pedal board for the last couple of years, basically unused. I bought the thing really when I first got my guitar about 3 years ago, give or take now, two and a half years ago, and it was one of my first pedal purchases, despite people often suggesting, hey, don't start with a wah. You really want to kind of learn the basics first and then work your way into it. So, me being me, I didn't listen to that at all. I went out and bought the wah and an overdrive pedal and a couple other basics, and then figured out very quickly that I had no idea what I was doing, and it sounded terrible, through no fault of the pedals. Since then, a couple of years of combination of guitar lessons and self-learning later. I'm still not great with this thing, but I've taken it off the floor, dusted it off, and plugged it in, and I was actually able to get it sounding halfway decent, with one exception. That is this sound. Sounds like somebody's on a squeaky bed. And I was sitting there late last night with my headphones on, playing along with a loop and trying to get sort of funky with the wah. And even with the headphones, I could hear this. It was just driving me nuts. And this squeak is actually not coming from the pivot point here. Hopefully the focus is working here. It's not coming from the pivot point. It's coming from, I'll show it when this thing is taken apart. It's coming from a rack and pinion gear assembly here, which is what drives the, I don't know if it's a potentiometer or an optical, probably some sort of an optical word retrieval failure thingy. And for whatever reason, not only is this squeaking, but this is apparently a common issue with these things. It's not a huge deal, it just needs to be lubricated. And I took a look online to see, okay, well, what are people using for this thing? And I see kind of the usual culprits. I see a lot of people talking about WD-40. I will not be using WD-40 as a lubricant in this or any other video. There's another video by a gentleman who does exactly the same lubrication job with spray white lithium grease. I also have some silicone lubricant, and I'm not 100% sure which I'm going to use yet. So why don't we put this on the bench, get it taken apart, take a closer look at it, and figure out what we want to do. So here we are. This is a practically unused Dunlop Crybaby Woah model GCB95. Like I said, I bought this a couple years back. It's got a 2012 copyright date on it, but I would have bought it around 2019. And as I said in the intro, this has had very, very little use. This is, for all intents and purposes, brand new, except that it's been sitting on my floor, on my carpet, gathering some dust, and that very well may be part of the actual cause of the problem here. As I said in the intro, there is another video of a gentleman taking one of these apart and re-lubricating it. And there's really not a whole lot more that I can show you. The only real reason I'm doing this is because his video was, and I may be missing, I'm sure there are others, but the one that I'm referring to was kind of handheld and blurry and a little harder to see. But really, realistically, I mean, you can get anything you need to out of that video. This is just a little bit newer and fresher video. And I'm sure there are other videos out there showing how to lubricate a wah pedal. So if you've made one of those videos and I'm ignoring you, no diss intended. Oh, and if this setup here looks suspiciously similar to my YouTube channel banner, that's because I actually just shot that banner pic yesterday right here on my little workbench area. Not that that's of any particular interest to anybody, but I wasn't really expecting to do a bench video this quickly. But sometimes life presents you with opportunities to share information about what you're working on, even if that's just taking apart an inexpensive $80 pedal and lubricating it. I did make sure that the battery is out. It is cleared and range safe. And it really warms my heart to take a look at these through components here. I mean, look at this. There are no surface mount. Oh, there might be a couple on the other side. No, it looks like there are no surface mount components on here. I am not an electronics expert, by the way. The limit of my electronics experience is actually this little Morse code keyer that I soldered together, and I never got it working because I think I didn't have a static setup at the time that I did this, and I think I fried this little op amp with static electricity. So that gives you some indication of how good of an electronics expert I am, which is not at all. However, I enjoy this stuff, and you'll be seeing more of it on this video, hopefully with a pedal build in the near future. I'm not actually going to do anything more with a screwdriver because I don't need to do anything electronically with this. All we really care about at this point is that sound. Now, you're not going to be able to tell from the video, but I can tell by sitting here that squeak is not coming from this pin at all. That is coming from this plastic on plastic contact right here on this rack and pinion. You can see that it was lubricated with what appears to be silicone. It's funny, I held this thing up. This is silicone sealant. That would make for a great repair. This thing wouldn't squeak again if I used this. So I'm probably going to have to do a cut while I actually go and get some real silicone lubricant. Good job there, Chris. Okay, I'm back. Little egg on my face there after that last bit, but I'm going to leave it in there because I want y'all to know that I am truly an amateur at pretty much every hobby and educational endeavor that I will likely to be showing you guys, because I don't think you're going to be interested in seeing me talk about my day job, but this is all hobby stuff, so we're allowed to be amateurs here. We're allowed to screw up a little bit and learn. I'm not one of those people who says you must do it this way, this is the one right way. I'll do what I need to do to make progress, so that's exactly what I'm going to do today. And I say all that because I actually don't have the silicone grease that I thought I had. I have the aforementioned silicone sealant. We're going to set that aside. I am not showing WD-40. I do, of course, own WD-40. But WD-40, even though this is WD-40 brand, this is actually a silicone lubricant. WD-40 makes good stuff. But what people refer to as WD-40 is that stands for water displacement 40. That is, even though it does have oil-based lubricants in it, it is not primarily a lubricant. Most of us remember Dad pulling out a can of WD-40 anytime something was squeaking and spraying it down. Maybe not your dad, but mine definitely did. And I inherited that, but eventually I realized that that's not the best tool for the job most of the time. And I am not an expert in lubricants, but I've brought out a few different ones that we can take a look at. But really what I think I'm going to do here is try to stick as close to what I believe is on there as I can, even though I don't have the exact right stuff. Do I really think it matters much? No, I don't think it matters much. I think we probably could spray some WD-40 in there, and it would probably alleviate the problem for a period of time. I think any of these would probably alleviate the problem for a period of time. But eventually, I think the squeak probably will come back. And when that happens, I'm probably going to go in and loosen this up and adjust this guide point here to maybe give a little bit more or a little bit less friction there. But for today, what I think I'm going to do here is I'm just going to clean this up a little bit, because as I said, there is a good amount of lubricant on here already, but that has picked up some fibers from my carpet. So whether or not that's part of the problem, I wouldn't be surprised. And there's no way, this is an open design. There's no way, unless you've got a pristine hardwood floor, dust-free environment for your studio, which I do not, you're going to pick up some dust over time. So the options here, I've got a silicone treadmill belt lubricant. This is pretty good stuff. I've got a couple of Teflon lubricants, and I've got a cup of a lithium lubricant and a silicone spray. I think the lithium I'm going to set aside, despite the fact that it was used in at least one other video, and I think it would be perfectly fine. Lithium lubricant it's kind of intended for metal lubrication, is my limited understanding. And my understanding is that it also has I don't know if it's primarily an oil-based. I don't think it's primarily, but there's oils in it, for whatever that's worth. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on this. I looked it up, and I think really the two choices here are Teflon and silicone. And again, I'm going to stick with the silicone only because I think that's what's already in there. If I'm wrong, by the way, if you guys think this is not the best choice, or if you think this is not really what's even in there, I'm perfectly willing to be corrected, so feel free. But we're going to go with what we've got. So what I've got here is a very viscous, thick, liquid lubricant here. This stuff kind of gets everywhere. This is, as you can see, it's meant to go under the belt of a treadmill. Then I've got just this, again, WD-40 branded, good stuff. Spray. Which is going to be less messy? Honestly, I don't know. So I'm just going to go with the spray for now. I fully expect that I'm going to have to revisit this before too long. So I'm not too worried if this isn't a one and done. But, we'll find out. So I'm just gently spraying a little bit in here. I'm trying not to get it all over the electronics. So So that's taken care of in between the roller and the the rack and pinion here. But again, I don't think that's actually where the squeaking is coming from. It's coming from right there. So we're just going to do the same thing here. Just a little bit. There we go. And now, I'd love to say problem solved, but it's still doing it. So either this is the wrong stuff for the job, or we've got a little bit of a tension issue here. So I'm going to run it through a little bit here. It still has that creaky bed sound. Now I'm pretty sure it was not doing that when I bought it, but like I said, I didn't really know what I was doing, so I can't say that for sure. I don't have a recollection of it squeaking when I first bought it. I have a recollection of me not knowing what I was doing and having it kind of sound like crap, but that had more to do with my rhythm, or lack thereof, than anything going on with the lubrication. All right, so when I loosen this guide here, I don't know if you could see it because it's just black on black here. It's definitely not the guide. And I'm actually going to eat crow again because I am hearing squeaking from inside there. All right, so we're going to have to go a little bit deeper. Yeah, as you can tell, I mean, I didn't pre-investigate this before the video, so for the sake of brevity, I might shorten this back a little bit. But what would be the fun of me pre-investigating instead of letting you guys share in the thrill of discovery? That's what YouTube's all about, right? All right, so I'm just going to spray a little bit right here in this pivot point. I'm trying to be sparing here because I just don't want to get this stuff everywhere, all over my workbench. Not that it really should matter all that much. It is a workbench after all. Boy, this might require a little bit more digging. Is that an annoying noise or what? I mean, really. Dunlop should put this sound on their ads. This is the sound of a real crybaby. There we go. No. Wishful thinking. So what we've got here, I don't know if you're going to be able to see any of this. There is a metal strap of some sort. It's almost like a retention strap. And it connects between this point on the other side of this screw here, and there's another screw on the inside which comes out above that circuit board. And it rides over an axle of some sort.
And I'm having trouble seeing for sure if the axle itself is rotating, but I believe it is. Yeah, it does appear to be. So that axle is actually rotating against that strap. So, again, I don't know if this is going to show up, but there's a metal strap in there. And oh, look at that. On the very edge of that strap, I can see a little bit of rust. What looks like rust. That's rust. Inside there, I see some rust on the edge of that strap. And that's interesting because where I keep this is in my music studio / office. It's in my basement, but this is a dry basement. You know, we've got central air in the summer. It's a dry house. This has never been stored outside. So that rust might have come with the unit, or it might have developed over time. I'm not sure. I'm just wondering whether or not the rust is even a factor, because it's only very mild and it's on the outer edge, and whether that is the source of my frustration. So I'm spraying a little bit. Again, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm spraying it. Well, now I'm spraying it all around the inside of the pedal. Good job. There we go. That was it. That was it. And it's funny because I just replied to somebody posting on that other video I was referencing to. They said that the actual source of the squeaking was not the rack and pinion. It was on the pivot point. And I replied so confident that, well, in my case, it's actually the rack and pinion. That's what it sounded like when I listened to it at first. But it wasn't. Or maybe it was both, but no, I'm pretty sure it was that pivot point. So I'm going to actually reply to that other guy and tell him, oh, you are absolutely right. So, problem alleviated. I don't know if solved is going to be the right word here. Because I suspect, I mean, that might have been under lubricated. I didn't see any obvious signs of grease. Like, this thing was slathered with grease. I mean, you saw it, but I didn't see any in there. So I am going to go out on a limb and say that this thing may not have been properly lubricated from the get-go, but I'm not trying to diss Dunlop here. I mean, as I said, this thing's been sitting around for a couple of years now. It has been unloved, unused, and now it's going to be getting some love. So we will find out, and maybe that very well may be part of the problem, the fact that this thing was not being used. That may be part of the problem. I'm willing to accept that I'm at fault. I kind of have to sometimes. My wife will agree with that point. But the reality here is that it's an easy fix. And hopefully by seeing that, it may be a little bit easier for you if you have to do the same thing. You know, the reality is that you probably could just spray any old lubricant in here that you wanted to. Go wild with it. As long as it's dielectric and it's not going to short this stuff out. But really, it's best to be sparing. It's best to be targeted, because if nothing else, you don't want to make a mess. I'm trying to get this thing off here. If I'm going to play it, it's going to get scuffed, it's going to get scratched. Someday, maybe I'll be dragging it around up to bar concerts. But in the meantime, I'm just going to have to entertain myself by making screeching noises in my basement. But at least they won't be squeaky bed noises. I'm going to just let that one lie.
So hopefully that was useful. If maybe a little confusing watching me fumble my way through the process of figuring out where exactly the problem was. There weren't a lot of places in that pedal that could have caused that noise, and I hit both of them. So if you are dealing with the same issue, just keep in mind there are a few videos that talk about different areas where this pedal can squeak. It very well may be that your issue is with one or the other. Just keep an open mind that you're going to have to do a little trial and error and figure that out. But again, it's an easy solution. And because I think it's against YouTube policy to actually do a video that involves guitar pedals without demoing them, I'm going to have to play just to prove that this actually is working. Anyways, again, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you all soon.